So, my fifth grade friends here, as we're getting here into chapter 10, we're going to be focusing today on U.S. customary units of length. These are all lengths that I know you're familiar with, and we're going to be working around the basis of what you see on your screen right now. The idea that it takes 12 inches to make 1 foot. If you've ever seen just like a ruler, a typical ruler is 12 inches, 1 foot. It takes 3 feet to make 1 yard. We have 1,760 yards equal 1 mile. And more commonly, we relate feet and miles. 5,280 feet equal 1 mile. So I'm pausing here only because as you're doing your worksheet, this information on your screen right now, I know we're not really taking notes per se and having notes quizzes during this time of online learning, but this information on your screen right now might be something you want to write down. To pause the screen and actually write this down so you can see it and remember it, because we will be referring to this information. 12 inches equals 1 foot, 3 feet equals 1 yard, 1,760 yards equals 1 mile, 5,280 feet equal 1 mile. So, what are we going to do today? Well, your example that they gave you, first example that we're going to look at, and if you look at the sheet, tells you that 12 yards equals blank feet. Now, there's something that you want to remember. Yards and feet. When you're doing these conversions, because the directions will tell you to convert, when you are doing these conversions, you want to make a decision, what's bigger, 1 yard or 1 feet, or 1 foot, sorry. Now some of you are probably saying, well, Mr. Swack, it says 12 yards, it says 12 yards. Well, you're right. The problem does say 12 yards. But when you're trying to convert, you want to think 1 yard and 1 foot. And you want to think which is bigger. Well, 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot. Well, how do I know that? Because on our original conversions, it says that it takes 3 feet to make 1 yard. So if I only have 1 foot, I don't have as much as if I do have 1 yard. So 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot. So, well, what do we do with that information? Well, the fact that 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot, I know that my measurement is getting smaller. When the measurement gets smaller, my number gets bigger. When the measurement gets smaller, the number gets bigger. So I multiply. Now I already know that the relationship between feet and yards is that 3 feet equals 1 yard. So since I have 12 yards, what I do to figure this out is simply 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36. So if I have 12 yards, I have 36 feet. So I go to my next one. Now let's say, for example, I have 144 inches, and I want to turn that into feet. All right? So once again, I have to compare my measurements. I have inches and feet. Even though the problem tells me I have 144 inches, I'm going to think to myself that I have 1 inch. What's bigger, 1 inch or 1 foot? Well, my conversion chart tells me that it takes 12 inches to make 1 foot. So I know that if I only have 1 inch, I have less than if I have 1 foot, because it takes 12 inches to make 1 foot. So in this situation, since 1 inch is less than 1 foot, my measurement is getting bigger. So I think of it as my measurement is getting bigger. My measurement is getting bigger, so the number is getting smaller. The measurement is getting bigger, so the number is getting smaller. When the number's getting smaller, I'm going to divide. In the first example, the number was getting bigger, so I multiplied. In this example, the measurement is getting bigger, which means the number is getting smaller, which means I'm going to divide. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. So I am going to do 144 divided by 12. That's a basic division problem. 12 can go into 14 once. 1 times 12 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Bring down the 4. 12 can go into 24 2 times. And I know that there are none left over because 2 times 12 is 24. And that makes 0. I got a final answer of 12. 144 inches is the same as 12 feet. And that's conversion. Now, sometimes they're going to try to confuse you a little bit, okay? And they might give you something like this. They might say, well, 9 yards and 1 foot equals how many feet? All right, so we kind of go over there a little bit, but that's okay. 9 yards plus 1 foot equals so many feet. Well, the first thing, this is already feet. So I can just, for the time being, I can pretend that's not there. And I can focus on the 9 yards. Now, yards is bigger than feet. Because remember, it takes 3 feet to make 1 yard. So I know that 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot. So since I'm going from yards to feet, my measurement is getting smaller, which means the number is getting bigger, which means I multiply. And since there's 3 feet in 1 yard, I have to think 9 times 3. Once again, I will put this plug in for really knowing your multiplication tables. It helps. 9 times 3 is 27. So the 9 yards makes 27 feet. But this is where you can't be in a rush, 5th grade, because you can't just go and write 27 here. At this point now, we have to remember that this is 1 foot. Okay? We have to remember that this is 1 foot. So I'm going to do 9 times 3 equals 27, but I have another foot here. So that's going to be 28 feet. Okay? So we're going to look at that. Now sometimes they're going to ask you to use these symbols. Less than, greater than, or equal to. And you're going to have to figure out, okay, well, which is bigger, what's not bigger, I don't know. So let's just say, for example, all right, let's say that I have 6,200 feet, and I'm comparing that to 1 mile and 900 feet. All right, we haven't used much of miles yet, so let's get a little practice with miles. Let's remember our conversion. 5,280 feet make 1 mile. Hopefully you have that written down. So we're going to be needing to remember that. 5,280 feet equal 1 mile. That's all the time. Okay? So here I have 6,200 feet. Here I have 1 mile, 900 feet. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to leave this one alone, just as feet. And I'm going to take this one and try to figure out how many feet this is. Well, I already know that I have 900 feet, and my conversion chart tells me that my 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So if I take my 5,280 feet and I add the 900, which comes from my mile, and I add the 900 feet that's right here, I should just be able to add those two problems together. 0, 8 plus 0 is 8. 2 plus 9 is 11. Put the 1 down, carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. I get 6,180. So over here I have 6,180 feet. Over here I have 6,200 feet. So this one is going to be greater. Now, what if I have something that looks like this? 100 inches, and then 3 yards and 1 foot. There's a whole lot going on here because I don't have any units that actually repeat themselves. This side is just in inches. This side is in yards and feet. So I need to do some conversion. Now, there's multiple ways that you can do this, 5th grade, but we're going to do the same way we did the first one, okay? We are always going to try to work with the smallest possible unit. Feet and miles is what we had in this first one, okay? So we turned everything into feet. That's the smallest one because 1 foot is smaller than 1 mile. Here I have inches, yard, and feet. When I go to my conversion chart, I can see that inches is the smallest one because it takes 12 inches to make a foot, okay? And then it takes 3 feet to make a yard. So my smallest unit there is an inch. So I'm going to turn everything to inches, which means this is going to be left alone. Now, before I can turn this to inches, I've got to turn everything to feet. My yards have to become feet, and then the feet have to become inches. I have to be very patient with the steps. My yards have to become feet, and then the feet have to become inches. So I remember from my conversion chart. Once again, hopefully you have that written down. Hopefully by now you have seen the value and why you're going to want to have that written down so you can see it somewhere. I have to turn my yards into feet. I know from my conversion chart that it takes 3 feet to make a yard. And so since I'm going from yards to feet, I'm trying to figure out that 3 yards equals how many feet. 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot, so my measurement is getting smaller, which means my number is getting bigger. So I'm going to multiply. And since it takes 3, count them, 3, 1, 2, 3 feet to make 1 yard, I'm going to multiply 3 times 3, and I know that's 9. So this 3 yards is 9 feet plus 1 foot. That means that here I have a total of 10 feet. All right? But I still don't have them the same because I have to turn the feet into inches. I look at my conversion chart, which hopefully you have written down. The conversion chart tells me that it takes 12 inches to make 1 foot. So I am trying to take my 10 feet now and turn it into inches. Now, since 12 inches makes 1 foot, once again, I know that 1 foot is bigger than 1 inch. So since 1 foot is bigger than 1 inch, my measurement is getting smaller, which means my number is getting bigger, which means I'm multiplying. Okay, you'll notice 5th grade that we like to multiply instead of divide. In Mr. Swack's opinion, it just makes it easier to do conversions if you can multiply instead of divide. I just find that we have more success that way. So since there's 12 inches in a foot, this problem becomes 10 times 12. 10 times 12 equals 120. 10 feet equals 120 inches. And since 3 yards and 1 foot equals 10 feet, I now know that this is 120 inches. Now I can compare them because I got 100 inches and 120 inches, and I can clearly see that that one is bigger. And that's where the mouth is open to. Now, sometimes you might get a little story problem, all right? And we're going to look at a story problem so we don't have any confusion. But let me get my board cleaned off here. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. You had a good breakfast or a good lunch whenever you're watching this, all right? But let's see. Let's pick on Caleb today. Caleb is one of our 5th grade friends. Let's pick on him today. Let's say that Caleb orders, 13 yards of material to make flags. All right, Caleb orders 13 yards of material to make flags. If he needs 1 foot of fabric for each flag, how many flags can he make? Caleb, maybe you didn't know that you were a flag maker, but now you do. So here we go. Caleb orders 13 yards of material to make flags. If he needs 1 foot of fabric for each flag, how many flags can he make? Well, he ordered 13 yards and he needs 1 foot. So really, we're going back to what we did at the beginning, and we have to figure out, well, 13 yards equals how many feet? That's what we're trying to do. So we look at the conversion. Back to my chart. It tells us that 3 feet equals 1 yard. 13 yards equals blank feet. If it takes 3 feet to make a yard, I know that 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot. 1 yard is bigger than 1 foot. So once again, my measurement is getting smaller, which means my number is going to get bigger, which means I'm multiplying. 13 times 3, which I believe is 39, which means that if you have 13 yards, you have 39 feet. The problem tells us he needs 1 foot of fabric for each flag. How many flags can he make? Well, if he has 39 feet, he should be able to make 39 flags. Kind of a long video today, 5th grade, to make up for last week, not really having too many videos recently because of the material. But we'll be back for another video tomorrow on capacity. Have a great day, and we will work on this assignment in class, I want to say on Wednesday the 15th of April. So have a good day. Bye.